Good evening and welcome once again to Sista Talk. We are glad that you could join us today. My name is Linda Talam. On today's show, we are discussing a topic that is quite sensitive and rarely talked about in our society. The topic is breaking the silence on child loss and miscarriages. This is something that our society is not usually ready to talk about, and many women have gone through such ordeals and they don't find space either to talk about it or may not have enough support system around them or in the society to be able to allow them to vent on this issue. But in today's show, we have three ladies who are willing to share with us their story, the journey, the challenges, the breakthroughs they have had even so. And on set today, we have Mary Munene. Karibu sana to the show, Mary.
Thank you.
Mary is an information technology auditor. We are glad to have you.
Thank you.
Then we also have Dorothy Nzembi. Dorothy is an administrator by profession. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wow, glad to have you too. Then we also have Hope Muturi. Hope Muturi is a TVET specialist.
Yes, thank you for having me. TVET stands for Technical and Vocational Education and Training.
Yeah, thank you for helping me.
Yes.
I knew I was going to say something wrong. Yes. So yeah, if you're watching the show, please share the feed with your friend. Text someone that you know somewhere who can benefit from this show and invite them to this show today. Also, engage us on the feed, on the SMS lines that are running below your screens so that we can get your feedback and see how we are going to help one another. So, Mary.
Yes.
You've been through quite a lot, yeah? So could you share with us a little bit of your story?
Wow. Thanks for having me. Well, you know, when definitely it's how can I put it? It's put like in the society, like it's obviously when you get married, you're expected to start popping babies, you know, immediately. And there's all these expectations, you know, from your relatives, the guys who came to witness your ceremony, and everyone is there waiting. Of course, it's like 1 year and they're wondering, okay, where aren't you guys, you know, what's happening? So anyway, the society had expectations, and of course that was also held on us. And as usual, we were also very happy, of course, to just start a family. With the love of my life, and we were excited just like any other couple. And of course, we had given ourselves some time to just probably enjoy marriage, settle down in DTC. So I remember the first time when I found out that I was expecting, I was like very, very ecstatic, and I was very happy. And of course I shared it with my hubby, because by then he was not even around. He's in a very demanding career, so he was not even anywhere around me. So we were like very excited. I remember he also shared with his friends, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna have a baby. And for me, I think it was also coupled with the fact that we were coming from a place of where our marriage of first year was very rocky. So the fact that now we're gonna have a baby, I felt that, wow, this is now something.
It was a calming.
Probably it will be now, you know, the landing ground. So I remember that day I went to hospital, and they're telling me that you're expectant, and but there is something. So they're giving you the ish because by then I was actually by then I think I was around. I didn't know. In fact, it's even my mom who told me, you look pregnant. I didn't know. I was around by the 9 weeks. I just had symptoms, but I didn't know that probably it's pregnancy. I was sleeping a lot, you know, the normal kind of thingy. So I went, but I was told, there is an issue. So you come back after around, say, next 2 weeks or so. So by then I was now getting into my second trimester. And by the time I got there, I was being told, the heartbeat now suddenly disappeared. So it was a shocker on me. As in, here you are from a level of being so excited that something will be new in your marriage, you know, all the hula balloons suddenly come down, and now you're being told, there is nothing here. In fact, I remember that doctor telling me, you need to go to the DNC right now. As in, I didn't even know what DNC is. I'm like, what do you mean? We were with my mom, so it's my mom who told the doctor, no, let her go home, we'll talk to you later. So, of course, 2-3 days later, I begin, you know, the miscarriage, and it was so heavy. After that, the whole trauma thingy, as in, I couldn't even explain to myself
What's happening?
What is happening to me. I went past that. Then now my hubby came back from his deployment. He came back. He's actually a military officer, so he came back from his deployment. And then when he came back, so we were like, we didn't even want to try again, but somehow another baby came. Another pregnancy happened, because I was actually very scared. So another pregnancy happened. But now again, this pregnancy, it progressed now all the way to the second trimester. But now by the second trimester, again, I started the spotting. And so I was like very conscious of what is happening. So I ran to my gyna and I told her, this is happening. So she's like, no, it's okay. Just give it some time. Probably it will stop. But by the time I was now, I think now heading to almost the 13th week, I started again.
A miscarriage.
Wow. And now that was my second one. Wow. So it happened the same cycle. So again, the trauma, I'm reliving it again. So that passed. My hubby, by the way, we were very scared, and I can tell you, I can't explain what a miscarriage is to a woman. You know that from the time the baby is conceived, you're sort of like hooked to that baby, but now suddenly it's not there. So again, we conceived a third baby, and we were excited as usual. And now, funny enough, also this one progressed to the second trimester, and I happened to have another miscarriage.
So in total, you've had like...
I've had 4 miscarriages.
4 miscarriages.
Yes, I've had 4 miscarriages. Wow. And it reached a point, and we were with my hubby, like, you know what? If God, we are not supposed to have kids, it's fine. It's fine, because anyway, our marriage is complete with 2.
Wow. So if you're tuning in, these stories are amazing. I mean, the depth of the pain and grief that someone can go through in such an experience, and today being able to stand here and share their story is so amazing. So if you're watching us, please type on the comment section, engage us as we continue listening to these ladies. I believe someone is getting encouraged, and know that you are not alone in this journey. So Mary had 4 miscarriages. Wow. Dorothy, please share with us a little bit of your story.
Mary.
Yes.
You're a bold one. Personally, I've had a stillbirth and a miscarriage. And for us, it started, we got married at our 30s. We started I was 30, he was 31. And
you are late bloomers or something. They call it.
It was set. God's timing. And so when it came, we were ready to start family. We were not waiting. We were not looking at enjoy, then get babies. We were there and ready to have babies. And we conceived like immediately. I didn't know until this one night. I'm home. My husband used to work late. So I'm home alone around 10. And all of a sudden I have a rash, the whole body. And what's going on? So we go to hospital immediately, he gets home. And on being checked, everything was okay. Then we tell them, do a pregnancy test. And they did, and it was positive. So we went back home. The journey was good. 40 weeks, 42 weeks. Wow. We hit 40, and I was like, my gyna, can you just deliver us? Can we, what is it called? Induce.
Yes.
Sorry. And she said, no, first baby, a boy, let's give time. And around when we were hitting 42 weeks, I spotted on a morning, and nobody had warned me any signs to look out for, which later I learned that you need to watch out for if you spot, if you're cramping, or you sense the baby is not moving. Movement has changed. They have a pattern. And there's the way they do it. So if you realize it's gone down, it's a trigger for you to be alert. So I went to hospital later that day because I started cramping. I spotted in the morning, but around midnight, I started cramping. And so I thought labor is setting. So we went to hospital. My husband was away, actually. I'd come that very evening. Then he had a bad stomach ache. So I was at a friend's because he was working away a whole week, and we are at that time when we are expecting anything. And so he comes in, he's not too well, but he insists to go home because he needs to travel again another week. So I remain at our friend's, and then he goes home. At midnight, of course, we let him know we are going to hospital. Please come check on us in the morning before you start your journey. And labor ceased. We got to hospital, checked in by 2. We have checked in and everything is okay. So he passes by at 4 a.m. We are okay. Nothing is going on. The heart rate is okay. But the next day by 5 p.m., between 3 and 5, now labor is intensive. And we are joyful because the pregnancy was smooth, everything was okay. We kept on doing ultrasounds, they were good. The baby was playing well, developing well throughout. At this particular time now, the labor is so intensive, and we had a very good doctor and a nurse during the day shifts. So when they change shifts, we get quite a strange team. And they are not keen, they are not responsive. We are first timers, so we don't know what to wait, to expect, or to look out for. But they are told us this is what to expect. If you feel like you need to poo, if you feel like you need to pee, let us know, don't go. All that, and they didn't seem concerned. And we labor intensively until 11:30. And so I tell them, it's either you take me to labor room and deliver this baby, or take me for CS. So we go to the delivery room, and I'm told push, and of course that drama that goes on that bed, you know. And the baby comes forth, and the baby doesn't cry. And they all go into panic mode, and I'm asking them what's going on. And they tell me, baby didn't cry, give us some time. They call the doctor. And I finally say, baby didn't make it. And that was like a balloon popped. I took in a big, deep breath. And my hubby was with me through that. The whole labor, because that day when he got the news that labor is bad and he was coming from Muranga, going to Nyeri. He had to come back. And he's on the road driving by himself. He was driving like an ambulance on the wrong lane, on the wrong side of the road. And finally he came and he found us and he took us through that session to the end. And the baby doesn't make it and we are there. And I remember picking up the phone and telling my pastor, we lost him. It was tough. But one thing came to my heart, that the God I have loved and who has assured me of his love this far as a reason.
Wow.
As a purpose for this, because I can't explain it otherwise. But I believe for his own reasons, which he will choose to tell me or he will choose to conceal, but he has his own purpose.
Wow. Quite a testimony, guys. Wow. I am so amazed at your stories. I mean, it's something that one cannot really explain, but you go through it and you think the world has come to an end. I can imagine. Hope, please share with us a little bit of your story.
Okay, I'm wondering how to share. Their stories are, it's good to share these experiences so that you realize the people who have, bigger challenges. Because right now I feel like my challenge is so small. But anyway, let me share. Yeah, so after I got married, we got our firstborn. And it was a normal pregnancy, but the labor was intense. Yeah, it was traumatic, but she was born, and she's well. She just turned 5 years old. So after, when she turned 1 year, we were like, let's try again. But that year we'd started having issues in our marriage. It was very, very, very rocky. But then there were various cycles. So there's a time things had settled down and we felt we are ready for another child. So yes, it was just normal because I felt we are used to this. So yes, so we got pregnant again. And unfortunately, during my first trimester, it was very traumatic for me because of some issues. Then I remember when I was getting into my second trimester, there's a time I just felt so much pain, and the cramping, and I'd actually started spotting. So what
Now,
I
this
did,
is in your
yes,
second,
yes, I was,
trimester.
yes, I was, yes, I was getting into my second trimester. I'm trying to remember. So what I remember well, I was getting to my 4th month. Yeah, so what happened is, I called my sister, and I also called my family, and at that point, so I was just confused. I even wanted to take a matatu. I didn't think it was something urgent, but my sister told me, no, you cannot take a matatu. You just go to the stage and take a taxi. And when I got to the taxi, I just told God, you just lead me to the best taxi person, because at that moment I was in so much pain. So I got to that taxi and I told that guy, please rush me to the hospital, I'm in pain. And at that point, I think I learned that God just provides, because it happened that I was in so much pain in the taxi, and the taxi guy, he kept on encouraging me. And he told me actually a few days ago, my wife went through a miscarriage, and I can really feel your pain. You will make, so throughout the whole journey he was really encouraging me. He was encouraging me, and it was also divine provision in that there was so much traffic on Thika Road, but he made his taxi like an ambulance. You know, he really understood the emergency. So eventually we got into the hospital, and at that point I was in intense pain. I'm telling you, my birth experience with my firstborn, it was very traumatic, because the pain was, I had labored for 13 hours, but the pain I was feeling at that point, it was more than my first experience. So I got into the hospital, and when now I was in the observation room, and when the nurse was doing some tests, when I stood, I just felt like the baby had come out. And I started shaking, and I told the nurse, the baby has come out. And the nurse was like, no, you're not sure. And I was like, I'm sure. So she just told me, go to the loo, confirm. And once you confirm, you can come back for a sanitary towel. I told her, just give me that sanitary towel. So I went to the loo, and that was very traumatic. Now holding the fetus, wrapping the fetus, it was traumatic. At that point, my family had already arrived at the hospital. So I remember that moment of just carrying the fetus and heading to the doctors. And I was telling the doctor, I've had a miscarriage. And the doctor was like, okay, put it there. And I was like, no, I want dignity. Where should I put it? And he said, put it there. So he just showed me a metallic plate. So I just went and put the fetus there. And when I put the fetus there, I realized it was a bin, and that is when I broke down. At that point, I wailed and wailed and wailed. But it was just the beginning of more pain, because I went through the first procedure. From the forms I saw, they even call it abortion. I didn't like that term. It was very painful. The metallic instruments, whatever it is, it was painful. I don't know where the numbing was, because I felt the pain. And unfortunately, when I went through the scan, after the procedure, I went through this. I went for scanning, and they still saw some remains. So I had to go through another procedure. So I went through 2 procedures. So the next procedure was now the DNC. And I don't know why, for me, I felt so much pain. And I think at that point, that is when I realized it is important to know the word, because I was in so much pain. The only thing I could say was Psalms 23 from beginning to end for a whole 2 hours, over and over again. The Lord is my shepherd until the end. And I'll never forget that point. After I left the theater, I just felt empty. Empty. So yeah, that's my experience.
So there's you felt like an emptiness, because as Mary said, there's an attachment you had already formed with the baby, especially because you are expecting, you are waiting, and then suddenly a miscarriage happens. So guys, I believe you're still on with us and you are engaging us, and you're inviting a friend, or if you know someone who may have gone through a similar ordeal and they have been having that journey, please just share the feed with them so that they can find encouragement in the testimonies of these ladies. Mary, after you've gone through the 4 miscarriages, what are the primary scares that you began feeling within you?
Wow, I can tell you, first of all, there was the pressure you get, as in, sometimes the places where you expect to get encouragement from, unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't come from there. I was expecting my encouragement to come from some, very close people, some of them who are, my associates in church and etc. And instead of that, I remember having, someone putting out a wind and saying, you know what, someone was saying that you should continue to remain in this season. So I'm like, why? Ati, because, you're usually so out there, bubbly, you talk too much. Can you imagine? As in someone,
instead of
that I'm supposed to, to continue being this sort of like somber. So I'm asking them why. Apparently, because when you're a wife, you're supposed to tone down.
Oh, really?
Someone said that, and that was unfortunately a brethren in church.
Yeah.
So there was first of all the pressure from, I thank God my in-laws, especially my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, they did not pressure me in any way. They were very supportive of me. But now they extended. Actually, one woman called me and told me, I want to give you an advice now in my mother tongue.
Yeah.
Come, I want to give you some advice. You don't want to have a baby because you don't want to lose shape.
Yeah.
You need to get a baby and move on.
Oh, really?
You girls of nowadays.
You don't want children.
And at that time, we were actually in our 3rd miscarriage. When she was talking to me like
and
that,
was she aware?
Sanitary. No.
Okay.
For her, she was not aware. But when she was talking like that, I even had a sanitary pad.
Because you were still going
because I was still going through that whole process, because it is messy and everything. And I just went back and I told my hubby, you know what, that lady, that's what she's told me. And he's like, she does not understand our season, so let her be. I thank God for a supportive husband too. And there was, then my own personal, I'm wondering, will my womb ever like hold a pregnancy? Is there something wrong with me? Because I remember after that, after having my 3rd miscarriage, I was told that my hormones cannot be able to sustain a pregnancy. So I was taken through hormonal therapy. And I cannot wish hormonal therapy on anyone. First of all, it's very expensive. And then the drugs they inject you, they leave you lethargic, tired. You even feel more sick than even going through the normal miscarriage. So my husband and I decided, you know what? No more hormonal therapy. Let us just, whichever place God wants to have us, it's fine. So we ceased the hormonal therapy. So there was that, the personal acceptance of what's wrong with my body, my hormones. I cannot sustain a pregnancy. My progesterone is, you're being told all this.
You begin having like self-blame.
That's the thing, my progesterone is low. I'm not eating enough. Probably I didn't take enough folic. What happened? All those things. You battle them within yourself, and it's not easy. It's not easy for any woman.
Wow. Yeah. I hope you're still watching the show with us and you're sending us feedback from wherever you are. We are glad to have feedback from you. Dorothy.
Yes.
So you've gone through a stillbirth, and you are going, instead of going home with a child wrapped in your arms, you're going empty-handed. How did that transform you, that situation?
First, you're going home with basins. You had shocked,
Your bag,
you know, as in, and you're in this house where we lived in a place where there were many houses, and we are on the ground floor.
And everyone knew you were pregnant.
And everyone knew, because at 5 weeks, my tummy is now gone. So we declare our presence very early on the journey, at 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Everybody at 6 weeks, 2 months. I mean, people asking, when are you due? So we've been on this journey. They've seen me throughout these 9 months.
Yeah.
Complete 9 months. And now they have seen I have disappeared for 4 days, and I am coming home. And I come with blessings, and they start talking. And they would come talk. We used to live on ground floor, and my place, my outyard used to be raised. So there was a place you would sit, like a porch.
Oh, so
So they would
come
sit
here.
there.
And
I used to
start-
be indoors many times when I'm home. Unless I'm hanging my clothes out or something, I used to be indoors a lot of times. And they would sit there and you would hear what they are saying. They would say, she didn't come with her baby. She just came. Kwani, what happened? Or she had a disabled baby, or there's something wrong with the baby. You know, they would talk. And it was very hard. It was very traumatizing for us. The fact that we even lost the baby. My husband had not left that point where we didn't come home. We had named our baby already, Judah. And so we kept on asking, what happened to Judah? How come? Because we could not peg anything to that loss. We could not peg anything that we didn't do or that we did to contribute to the loss. And the other thing is, now friends are calling you and they don't have words. I remember one of the friends, before we even left hospital, came in the morning and she could not face me. She was more traumatized than we were. She came in, and where we were, she hid in one of the next wards to first cry. And she came in and told me, I want to sue this hospital because of the pain she was feeling, because we had worked with her, because I was in her house when I left for labor and all that. And that's the kind of pain that we went through. But I thank God, because ours was bearable. We had very close people. Number one, at our workplace, my workplace, there was no policy around that and a maternity leave for a mother that has lost the baby. So one was put in place because of me, and I was given the full 3 months, like a mother that had a baby, because you need to connect with yourself.
Exactly.
You need to heal. You need to come
Go through the
just go
motions.
through the motions, mourn, and let it go.
Yes.
And at the same time, my spiritual mom formed a group. The Lord drew her to just form a group of ladies to do Bible study together on certain issues. And she had me in mind, and I had time. I am home on leave and all that is happening. And so I went into that, and I gave a lot of myself into that, into praying, into studying the word. And one of the things that came to my mind is Romans 8:28, that everything that happens to those that love the Lord, to those that are called according to his purpose, it has a reason. And darling Zek, either I just released the song Victor's Crown, and that song was my anthem.
Wow.
We would play that
So
song.
you
throughout.
found a base in the Word of God, and also in seeking the Lord more. We are going to go on a short break, but I believe you are sharing the feed with your friends and engaging with us on the lines that are running below your screen. We are going to see you in a few minutes.